వస్తుందా సార్ ఇప్పుడు? ఒక్క నిమిషం. యా, ఇప్పుడు వస్తుందా? యా యా. ఓకే 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 సార్. ఇది కట్ చేయనా? ఫోన్ కట్ చేయనా? చెప్పండి మేడం.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. Jain, sir.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Can you see me?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hello.
Ma'am, I guess we have met in last Goa meeting. After that, this is our one-to-one
COVID.
direct meeting, I believe.
And the COVID started. Yes. So there is a scope of sharing the screen. So we'll see that the screen shares. No. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. You
Okay.
can check
If there
it.
is, shall I check? Yeah. Just let me.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, Ravina.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
সব ঠিক?
সব ঠিক। তুমি মুম্বাই তো, ওখান থেকেই তো?
ঘর থেকে, from home.
From home.
I'm just.
So you are তুমি কি মানে অবাক হচ্ছ আমাকে দেখে নাকি?
দাড়ি দেখে।
এই সবই COVID-19 এর জন্য।
Safety measures.
Good afternoon, Deshpande, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, you are on mute, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Chandrasekhar.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Chandrasekhar, hi.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I was just trying to see that it works. This is the screen, and then I will see.
Good going, Lakshmi.
Thank you, sir. With all your support and all, we could able to manage, and with the blessings of the senior officers, especially.
Yeah.
And as long as we have well-wishers and the supporters like Rupina ma'am, definitely we'll be keep rocking in our efforts.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can you see the screen? No, you can see the screen. Okay.
Yes.
Ma'am, click the slide show.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
So can we keep it in this manner, like that, or?
Once we
like this one.
offer your presentation, then you can share your screen.
So I will just keep it in this manner. Do you think so?
Not
Like
now.
this? Not now? Okay.
Not now.
Then I will again start. Have to do the things. No problem. So I will just stop share.
Yes,
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, this is fine now.
I'll just check once again, and that's all. Once again, I'll just check.
Sure.
There are a lot. Right.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rubina, and wish you good luck. And
Thank you.
Chandrasekhar, good afternoon.
Thank you.
1 minute.
Oscar, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, doctor. How are you?
Fine.
So otherwise, how is everything? Bhai sahab, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Good afternoon, sir.
Bhai sahab,
Dr. Bose, you are the opening batsman. best person.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for this excellent opportunity. Thank you,
All
sir.
the best. All the best.
Thank you, sir, for this team selection. Excellent, sir. This is an excellent opportunity for me, truly.
No, it will be recorded in the history of.
Opportunity for all
Training
regulators to
Academy.
listen to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I am really privileged and so grateful.
Thank you and wish you good luck again.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. So all the participants would be live on at 3 o'clock, Lakshmi?
Yes, some are joining, ma'am. All the registered participants they are joining through Zoom.
So they can see us.
Yes.
They can see us also. Okay. Right.
And we have given this YouTube live stream also.
So
those
that
who haven't registered, then they can hear to the lecture through the live stream.
Live stream, right. And this would be like your, first experiment. So it's a trial for you. Phase 1 trial. Then we go on. Starting with the first in human trial. So then with that works in us.
Yes, ma'am.
And then
Good afternoon, sir. Rajavalu, sir.
Good afternoon, Chandrasekhar.
Raja, hi.
Namaste.
good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Namaste, ma'am. मैम दुर्गा पूजा कैसे चल रहा है? नहीं रुबीना मैम
Calcutta. Our ex-chief minister has starting donating funds for Durga Puja ceremony. Okay, 50,000 for each pandal.
each pandal.
37,000 puja receiving money from the chief minister.
Okay.
and encouraging pandemic.
No, better, doctor.
Yes.
I think next in the place of Durga, your chief minister will be there.
You're joining from Delhi, ma'am, or Calcutta?
Me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm in the Mumbai.
Mumbai. Okay. Thanks, good.
I can see the people here in the chat.
Okay.
So right now, since March, I'm in Mumbai. Not moved at all.
Okay. Not food. Okay. Because of this.
Let's see that Durga Puja if it is possible.
I think 24th and 25th will be holiday, I believe.
No, there is no central government holiday is not there.
Okay.
There is only Saturday, Sunday in between.
Yeah, that falls on
24th.
Saturday. 24th falls on Saturday. 25th.
Yeah, and to just combine 1 or 2 days before and after, then at least can stay for 4 days at home.
Okay.
So is Rubina, you are coming to Calcutta?
Maybe I will. Just trying for 2 to 3 days, and then I'll be back. But with all the online applications and everything along with me, means with the subject to the condition that I will be doing all my office work. So,
Deshpande ji, namaskar.
Namaskar.
I met sir in Calcutta only before, or maybe sometimes in between also. But I saw you in Calcutta last.
Me?
To Deshpande sir, I'm saying.
Okay.
In one
What
of the
you said?
seminars. I saw you in the Calcutta seminar on e-pharmacy.
Yeah, many years back.
Many years back. True. Yes.
Yeah.
Together. I mean, I was with you, and then I have seen number of times, but I met you in the meeting in the Calcutta, that e-pharmacy seminar.
Right.
Maybe 2016 or 17. Don't know.
2016, I think that was IPGA seminar, perhaps.
So that must be the time. Yeah. 4 years back.
Possibly.
It's like everybody has to join after the food on Sunday to this webinar. Isn't it? Like people are.
Yeah, but
This is the ideal time.
all field officers are busy.
Yes.
Field officers are busy
True.
around the clock on working days, even on Sundays. So
Even on Sundays.
we need to select only Sundays and
Yes.
keep them additionally worked up.
True. Additionally worked. True. So everybody is at home, or
but people don't mind. People don't mind coming here for webinar on Sunday, because there are already 170 registrations. You can imagine the enthusiasm.
Yes. That is great.
We are an office actually. We are an office only.
Yeah.
I think
because it's easy for you to attend from the office. Huh?
no, not so, but every Sunday we are here only because one is some flood situation is there and
Oh, so everybody is in that.
And Vijayawada is Durga festivals goes on very well here.
Oh, okay. There is Durga festival, Durga Puja festival very nicely in Andhra, isn't it? So many Durga Puja temples are there, Durga temples are there in Andhra.
Vijayawada is a place where the Durga Devi temple is there, famous.
Yeah. Okay. Acha.
The name Vijayawada is also because of that.
Okay.
Yes, some more to join.
All have joined, Lakshmi?
మేడం మీ ఫోన్ మ్యూట్ లో ఉంది లక్ష్మి మేడం.
When are you starting? 3
just
3 o'clock, sir.
Chandrasekhar, till how many have joined?
Till now 9 attendees are there, sir. 8 panelists. And YouTube live streaming also going on, sir.
Oh.
Lakshmi madam, మీ కాల్ మ్యూట్ లో ఉంది.
170 registered, no?
We have
3 o'clock, sir.
170 registrations today morning.
10 members, sir, now. 10 attendees. 10 attendees, 8 panelists.
Hello, Chandrasekhar. Hello.
Sir, చెప్పండి. Tell me.
Some members, few members complained that they have not received any link through mail.
Okay.
So how they will join?
YouTube live streaming is there, sir. It is already.
They have registered. They have already registered, but they don't receive any mail, link mail.
So they can join through the same Zoom link what we have shared, sir. They can again try for re-register again.
Okay.
So once they feed in the basic details, then they will be directly joining this program.
Okay.
They may be expecting somebody to sit with them and make them to log in.
No, there is already a message from Lakshmi. No, in case of difficulty, they can contact Anil or Chandrasekhar so that their difficulties can be sorted out.
Yes.
As scheduled, we are going to start this session sharp 3 o'clock. And we have 1 minute to go for the program. And I could see the most of the attendees are keep joining in the program.
Sir, almost 35 attendees are joined.
Okay.
Shall we start or we will wait for another 5 more minutes?
The 41 it's showing.
Yeah.
41.
Panelists are 8, sir.
Lakshmi.
Yes, sir.
So generally, even if it's a physical meeting, President of India comes also, our people will take their own time. So anyhow, Rubina is there and Jayanta and we are all there. There is nothing wrong if we wait for 5 minutes at least. In the coming days, we can start on time.
Sure. Okay, sir. Then we wait.
Let us wait for 5 minutes. Kiana, if your speech and Jayanta's speech concludes, if if Rubina starts talking, they may not be missing. They may miss actually. So let us wait for 5 minutes. I don't think
Yes, yes.
nothing is going to happen. Just one more lighter moments. It's just like a T20. In the initial overs, people will not be so active. Once it moves, people will score more runs. So already 48 is there. So if we wait for 5-10 minutes, 5 minutes is enough actually. We may touch more than 70-80. That's what I feel.
Yes.
Moreover, from next talk onwards, it's better to plan it on Saturday. Otherwise, Lakshmi is working on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday for official work and Friday for this. So if we have that on Saturday, so Sunday at least we'll have some time for other
Work.
engagements, and other officers also will, they can relax with the families and all. So the next time it's better you think about planning it on Saturday.
We are checking for the feasibility of organizing a program even on weekdays after the work hours, probably in this evening 6 to 7 or 7 to 8. So we have to make a test of all these different time slots and then arrive for a proper timing.
You're right. You're absolutely right. The convenience of the attendees as well as the speakers and our convenience. Working days, sometimes we may be held up in some serious works also sometimes unexpectedly from the government, even for you and me or for officers. So we don't know exactly. So Saturday always very safe, at least to some extent. Dr. Rubina and Lakshmi have selected a very wonderful topic actually. So the regulatory response to COVID-19, it's a very good topic actually. It sounds very interesting to most of the people.
Yeah. Actually, we were discussing and I said that at what we are working right now, we can have anything like GMP sessions and all. She said that we will be having a series of all such sessions, GMP and other things related to our work. So better to start with something which is it will be something which is very current and at this moment what we are doing. and maybe some information can be shared on how we actually worked on. So I shared the presentation with her. So just I have tried to summarize our activities and how we have actually handled and what we have learned. So that's the way. Uh, so let us see how the people, what is the feedback of the people on this, because it's a very broad subject. So starting from such a small and non-critical item, but which are all critical for COVID-19, like starting from the masks to the highest, high risk products and the vaccines, which would be like, which are supposed to come. So it is a very vast one, but I thought that we'll share whatever we have learned. That was the intention, that let us see how it is taken, because definitely you have to plan some subject wise topic, isn't it? Specific to the various activities of the drug control officials, their investigation, their sampling, their court cases, and also the inspections, different type of inspections, different type of products. So all this will have to be taken up by you all in a gradual manner, and you have to think about the entire country, like not only the people. So that is it.
Already we have 64 people. I think at 3:05 we can start.
Okay.
Yeah, 3:10. Now it's already 3:07.
7.
We'll start at 3:10.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, world was locked in for 90 days in the first 3 months of the pandemic. I think the regulatory departments were working continuously. I think that is itself is a response.
Initially the pressure was very heavy for all of you, so everybody was having too much pressure, giving respond to all the bodies, all the civil, everybody. I mean, even today, some of the people, some of the places, the collectors and all the people know, they are like you have to do everything at the immediately and at that moment of time, and you don't understand the products, like what type of products. So such kind of things are there, but I think the people are handling it very. Now they have learned, basically everybody has learned how to handle.
How is the weather? I think Anna, weather market full complete.
Tamdu?
ఇప్పుడు సడన్ గా చేంజ్ వచ్చింది. There's a huge storm, raining.
It's today morning there was no rain, but a lot of clouds. Suddenly the atmosphere changed actually.
Just now it is just pouring.
Achha.
Oh.
But okay, Lakshmi and Rubina and Jayanto, wish you good luck, and bye, sir.
Yeah, I think it's time to start.
Yeah, it's within
Good
now
afternoon.
it's 72. Now you go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lakshmi Prasanna, the coordinator for All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation Training Academy and the Central Council member of AIDCOC. I take the privilege of inviting all the officers and the office bearers of ADCOC, especially our Chief Advisor SW Deshpande ji, our Honorary Director General Mr. Uday Bhaskar ji, the President of AIDCOC Jayanta Chaudhary ji, and the Secretary General Rajbanu ji, and our special welcome to our chief guest and keynote speaker, Dr. Rubina Boji, who has consented her presence for today's program. And I welcome all the participants and the regulators from both from the CDSCO and the states for today's program. as we all have witnessed the great inaugural launching ceremony of ADCOP Training Academy a couple of weeks back, exactly on 4th of October, by with our beloved Drugs Controller General Dr. Vijay Somaniji, and we have witnessed the grand success of our inaugural program. And it's the training activities of ADCOC officers is one of the primary agenda of AIDCOC, and we have established the training academy. And we have closely working with the senior officials of CDSEO and the state officials, also with the industry leaders and experts, and with the other institutional international organizations for chalking out the programs in the coming weeks. And today we are gathered here for the first session of our webinar series. And we are so glad to choose the right topic of regulatory response to COVID-19. Indeed, this COVID pandemic has made all of us to join on the virtual platform, and we are utilizing this platform to share our thoughts regarding our preparedness and responses to fight this pandemic. And in the coming weeks, we are planning few more topics, and we have identified the important areas where the regulators across the country has to be trained, especially on the day-to-day practices, whether it is of legal practices or investigational skills, and even the good management skills, how to manage the stress and other situations of uncertain times, and also the technical expertise required in different subjects. So we have identified all the required subjects to be given the training, and we are in the process of evaluating the speakers, and we have identified some resource persons also, and we are planning a series of webinars in the coming weeks. And today we are so glad to have our well-wisher and beloved regulator, Dr. Rubina Bose ma'am, who has graced her presence for to talk on this regulatory response to COVID. So with that, I would like to request the President of All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation, Dr. Jayanta Chowdhury sir, to chair this session and to give his welcome remarks. Welcome you, sir. Sir, you are on mute. Kindly unmute yourself.
Now it is audible. Hello. Yes. So thank you, Lakshmi, for nice introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Respected Robi Uday Bhaskar, Honorary Director General, AIDCOC. Respected SW Deshpandeji, Chief Advisor of All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation. My brother, Mr. K. Rajabhanu, Secretary General in Charge, All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation. Respected Central Council and Executive Council members of AIDCOC. Lakshmi Prasanna, Chandrasekhar, all CC members, and Lakshmi Prasanna, the coordinator of the Training Academy, distinguished participants from regulatory department, my dear regulator friends from all over the country, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you this first session of the JUBO webinar on regulatory response to COVID-19. A very warm welcome to Dr. Rubina Bose, Zonal Head, Deputy Drug Controller, CDSEO West Zone. I, on behalf of All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation, want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Rubina Bose, Madam, for accepting our invitation and agreed to deliver a valuable speech on that topic. Basically, we are facing a global health crisis. What I mean to say that in the history, even in the history of civilization, one that is increasing human suffering. COVID-19 is killing people as well as attacking economy, trade, supply chains, business, jobs, everything. Our human family is stressed and the social fabric is torn out. People are suffering, sick and scared. People's lives are disrupted, isolated, and after. And also this pandemic turning into a crisis of mental health. That is the big concern today's big concern. This pandemic has significantly impacted our country in terms of healthcare infrastructure. Even in the wealthiest countries, we see the health system buckling under pressure. in this unprecedented situation, even before the announcement of lockdown measure by the government, pharma regulator responded quickly and remained on their toes, and still they are doing tremendous jobs for last 7-8 months, and also doing round the clock monitoring and vigilance from the day one of infection, and ensured uninterrupted supply and availability of all life-saving essential drugs in affordable prices in all parts of the country, as well as taking action on unscrupulous traders and manufacturers against black marketing of COVID drugs. The government of India, including all state government, has taken prompt preventive measures, and our union government has taken several initiatives and steps to ease out regulatory approvals for COVID drugs and development of vaccines. Now, it is well understood that regulatory flexibility and regulatory reliance are the need of the hour. It is hard to address through individual and isolated country responses. This is a moment that demands coordinated, decisive, innovative, and collective regulatory measures worldwide. Actually, we are still in the middle of the pandemic, and its evolving impact on economy, healthcare, trade, business are enormous. I can share one important meeting information of International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authorities, where 20 medicines regulatory authorities from 17 countries were joined to discuss regulatory consideration related to development of novel coronavirus vaccine candidates. Interestingly, one of the topics discussed at the meeting was whether human trials of vaccines could begin without first completing animal studies. However, participants agreed that where human trials are allowed without proud animal studies, such studies are in general expected to be conducted in parallel with human trials, so that the data generated are available prior to enrolling large number of human subjects into phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials. Yes, I admit, in public health emergencies we are currently going through, regulators are expected to act fast. We know the time is the essence and important. Undue burden or delays can create considerable harm. At the same time, applying good regulatory practice even in a crisis situation is essential, but not to adapt in haste. Everybody is asking for vaccine, and even our family and friends are also asking questions: where it would be available, how much it costs, vaccination procedure, etc., etc. You all eagerly waiting to listen such queries, regulatory insight, our country's preparedness, how to handle the situation from Dr. Rubina Bush, madam. She has in-depth knowledge about the subject and worked in WHO pre-qualification vaccine assessment team as technical officers at WHO headquarters Geneva, and participated in many vaccine dossier assessment. With this initial few words, I would like to wish you and your families my personal best for your health and safety in these difficult times. I would also like to express my profound gratitude to all pharma regulators, doctors, pharmacists, nurses, paramedics, and other health workers who are serving so selflessly on the front lines of this health crisis. Thank you. And now I would like to request Lakshmi Vasanna, coordinator of the Training Academy, to start next proceedings. Over to Lakshmi. Thank you.
Amma, you have to. Amma?
Yeah, sorry for that.
Hello, Lakshmi.
Thank you so much, sir.
Please
Thank you
start
so much. Now, I take the pleasure of inviting Dr. Rubina Bose, ma'am, the keynote speaker for the today's webinar on the regulatory response to COVID-19. And I guess ma'am doesn't need any introduction among all the regulators, whether it's from state or central. So I believe every junior or senior officers from the state or CDSO might have had the privilege of hearing to madam's lectures at one or other training session. But as a customary of the program, I take a small chance of introducing ma'am to formally to all the August audience. So Dr. Rubina ma'am, she holds a doctorate in pharmacy from Jadavpur University of Kolkata, and prior to joining the CDSCO, she had worked for about 5 years in the manufacturing facility of injectables, and then she has joined as a drugs inspector in CDSCO, and she has been working at various capacities from the past 20 years, and she has headed the zonal offices, also the various divisions such as import registrations, new drugs, and QA, quality assurance of vaccines, and many others. Indeed, Dr. Rubina Bose has worked with the World Health Organization very closely, and she has been a part of this WHO pre-qualification vaccine assessment team as a technical officer at headquarters of WHO Geneva, and participated in vaccine dossier assessments and inspections. She also worked with WHO as an expert in various national and international advanced GMP training programs, and imparted trainings to not only to the Indian regulators, but also to the regulators from other countries like China, Vietnam, Indonesia, and so on. And she has worked intensively with WHO as an expert on developing the GMP guidelines for biologicals, good regulatory practice guidelines, and NRA assessment tools and all. And she had been representing Government of India in various WHO meetings at Geneva, USA, and other countries. And it's a matter of pride that she has participated in NRA assessment of vaccines by World Health Organization in 2009, 2012, and 2017, when Indian NRA was declared as a functional by WHO. With that brief introduction, I would like to request Dr. Rubina Bose ma'am to give her detailed presentation on the regulatory response to COVID-19. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Lakshmi, for the kind introduction. And thanks to the ADCOC team. I am very thankful to the ADCOC team for giving me this excellent platform and opportunity to get connected with all my fellow colleagues of the state and the central. And so it's really a very proud moment for me. And I would like to share the screen. And before that, I just want to give you make a small disclaimer. So whatever I have gathered, the informations are all which are there in the public domain, which are in the form of the various public notices and the guidelines and the checklist, whatever is in the public domain. And whatever views I express are all my understanding, and it should not be construed upon as the views of my organization. So that's a disclaimer for me. So I would like to share the screen. Is it visible? Yeah. So I have collected the informations as an outline of this presentation. So it's it doesn't move. Can I?
Ma'am, you can click the slide share option.
Okay, just a minute. Screen is shared already?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, screen sharing, slide share.
Yeah, madam, just press the up and down arrows, madam. Up and down arrows.
Yeah. So I'm just pressing that only. It's not moving. Sometimes it happens. I think it's moving, right? Okay. So this is the outline of my presentation. So summarizing just the various regulatory responses as notices, guidelines, first track approval, which has come up, the regulatory enablers, which has actually helped us to respond to this pandemic. There is so I mentioned, I cannot, it is required to mention for these, the two greatest enablers in this time, the new drug and the clinical trial rules, some salient points of 2 slides on that, and medical device rules 2017, salient points, which may not be directly relevant, but it is relevant. The current regulatory pathway which we follow, and to show that actually where we can really do the abbreviated approval process, and really can we do any compromise with the quality, safety and efficacy, and what actually we have to do when it comes to the public health emergency and how it can be handled. So current regulatory pathway, approval process of new drug. There are 1 or 2 slides on that. Regulatory pathway example of one of the RDNA vaccine, to show that how complex is the process and how you have to handle. The regulatory pathway of first track approval, requirements of the licensor, and lessons learned all these months. And so to start with, we started our response. India started response long before WHO has declared this public health emergency in the January, and also subsequently as the pandemic in the month of March. So India initiated the required preparedness and action, and as it was told by the when in the previous speaker, the subsequently it was all that it was India has initiated preparedness action, and has subsequently, when once WHO has, after even after before long before this WHO declaring this pandemic, India they have assessed, and they have made the assessment of the whole supply chain of the essential medicines and the PPE kits. They have taken up, the Indian government of India has taken up the issues with all the state government as well as the various drug manufacturing associations, to ensure that the manufacturers have enough stock of these APIs and formulation, and that there is a adequate supply and there is no scarcity of essential medicines. There has been also advisories issued by the government to all the state governments, to all the, so that there is that they are vigilant on the various merchant importers, stockists, as well as the indigenous manufacturers, and so that there is no hoarding and creation of artificial scarcity of API or KSMs in the country. In this regard, there was various public notices, communications, request letters issued. It was not only the Ministry of Health, but also the other aligned ministries which work together. And in responding to this situation, um, starting from the very beginning, even in this, just once the pandemic was declared in the month of March, the response has come up from the regulator, from the government of India, from the Ministry of Health, and from the CDSO. The public notices were published for the stakeholders, indicating the modalities and the pathway for the first drug approval for all products of COVID-19, whether it is for the clinical trial or for the approval of the new drugs, including vaccines, RDNA-derived products, and the in vitro diagnostic kits. So it was the various guidance, the regulatory guidance gave the necessary indications and the clarifications on any developers of the drugs or vaccines of COVID-19 who can approach to the CDSO through the public relation office for seeking guidance for the regulatory pathway. It was any drug which is a new drug, or whether it is a drug for the repurposing for the existing drugs or vaccines for the treatment of COVID-19. In such cases, what would be the procedure, or in case of the applications of the clinical trial, or which is for the permission or for the import or for the manufacture of the drugs and vaccines for sale and distribution, how the expedited review or accelerated approval would be undertaken. And also, if in case any pharmacy is already having a drug or vaccines which is approved for COVID-19 in any other country. So there was a clarifications and guidance and regulatory guidance given in this particular public notice for all type of drugs, whether it is under development, whether it is already approved in some other countries, and now it is being imported, it is proposed to be imported in India, or in case of any drug which is now proposed to be used for the COVID-19 purpose. So these notices actually gave the regulatory, the notice gave the clear indications. Even in that there was a guidance on the data requirement, which indicated that where the data requirement can be abbreviated, deferred, or waived on case-to-case basis, depending upon the type of the vaccine, nature of the drug, the nature of the already available information. and even it can be for all type of drugs, whether it is not only for the other drugs, it was also mentioned for the phytopharmaceutical drugs. um, in case of the such drugs, when you are applying for a drug for the treatment of the COVID proposing, so it was specifically mentioned that application to manufacture for the purpose of test and analysis, as well as for the further use in the BAB study or in the clinical trial, it will be processed within the 7 days. Even in case a drug is approved for the purpose of COVID-19, it has been given a grant of manufacturing approval after completion of clinical trial. In such case, the import license can be granted without when there is a routine time of 9 months for a registration certificate. So it would be using the specific rules for the waiver of the registration certificate and giving an import permission without registration in case of emergency, subject to the approval of the central government. There were specific directions at the right time. There was different public notices. So I thought that it is very important to go through these various notices, which will make aware that how the response was taken up in an immediate manner by the Ministry of Health, by Government of India, and by CDSO to make all the people, keep all the people on the board and do the necessary, response one after another. So for ensuring the accessibility, the port offices was directed to release the consignments of vaccines, critical in vitro diagnostics, and blood products, which are routinely actually sampled 100% for testing based on the review of the documents, certificate of release of batch by the manufacturer, and satisfactory history of the product. So subject to certain conditions that when this such testing would be taken up. So this was one of the things for ensuring the accessibility. And also there was circulars issued for the lot release of the vaccines. As you know that all lots of vaccines are released by CDL. So any vaccines which are imported or manufactured are released by CDL Kasoli. But in this case, it was specifically said that for all the human vaccines which are manufactured domestically, the CDL Kasoli would be presently releasing the lot on the basis of review of the summary lot protocol, unless the logistics are restored and unless the samples can be sent to CDL Kasoli for other testing as per their protocols and procedures. So as it is all known that there was a request letter to all the state licensing authorities for the first stroke approval of the hand sanitizer manufacturing license, which was immediately needed within 3 days. Similarly, for request to all the state regulatory authorities and the union territories was made for the first track approval of the industrial oxygen manufacturer if they are applying for manufacture of medical oxygen within 24 hours. So, and in fact, the entire country, the entire regulators, all of them responded to that. And there was, I do not remember the figure, but there was all licenses of the hand sanitizers and the medical oxygens which have come up in that manner so that it could combat with this pandemic, and it could really give this essential, which was the fighting equipment to the public, and to the patients wherever it was required. So regarding one most important thing was that the immediate response for the conduct of the clinical trial, because the trial which was already going on in the country, so there was immediate revised regulatory guidance published on that. It was really not as a guidance, we can say that it's as a notice and which can be taken as a guidance to all the stakeholders, understanding the various challenges that may arise during the conduct of the clinical trial in this pandemic outbreak, and which may lead difficulties to maintain the complete adherence to the approved protocol, if it was very appropriate at the right moment of time, because there would have been a real difficulties to maintain this adherence to the approved protocol for the ongoing clinical trial, and related to the regulatory provisions, procedures, applicable guidelines in case of the which is related to the various activities involved in the conduct of the clinical trial, including the recruitment of the trial subjects, laboratory testing, the administration of the investigational product, reporting of the SAEs, diagnostic tests, scheduled visits, so the assessment of the safety efficacy parameters. So such actually for it was more important was that such impact on this conduct of the clinical trial will actually depend on the disease conditions, the locality region, actually where the trial site is located, and at that point of time what was the government restrictions, including that of the local administration, which was made due to this pandemic. So it was clearly indicated in the guidance that how the sponsors can really assess the situation, and they can make necessary amendment in the trial protocol, can deviate from the protocol and take specific decisions on the whether to continue the trial or to at this, depending on the disease conditions, depending on the at the moment the patient's availability, the study, whether it is really available for the patients to be available for the required process and the required time at that point of time, what was the trial going on, or whether it would be this really possible for the IP administration. So the sponsors along with the ethics committee members and along with the investigators would take the necessary decision and would take necessary decision for the conduct of the clinical trial. We may make necessary changes in the clinical trial protocol, and accordingly may exchange such communications through the electronic mode, and also notify to the regulators after such decisions in the considering the that what is most paramount importance is that the right safety and well-being of the subjects. So that was our guidance which was given at the right moment for this conduct of the trials. And as it was told that there was a continuous monitoring, and which is still continuing, monitoring of the availability of the essential drugs, including the critical drugs. We have that 55 plus 97 critical drugs which are used for the treatment and management of the patients infected with the COVID-19, and also to take necessary measures to ensure the availability on the regular basis. There was a specific gazette notifications for the stockpiling of the vaccines under clinical trial. This was published so that once the COVID-19 vaccines, if it is available, once it is, which is understood, which has, as you know, that there are some vaccines in the different stages of the clinical trial at present in the country, and that it was once this stockpiling, once these vaccines are approved and it passes the phase 3 clinical trial and can get the approval for the marketing and are ready for the marketing approval, then it gets a marketing approval. This particularly these vaccines which are under this clinical trial and has been stockpiled at that point of time can be used immediately. So similarly, there was also, as it is known, that considering the emergency and the unmet medical need, CDSU has approved 3 drugs for restricted emergency use in the country for the treatment of the COVID-19 infection. So one of the drug, which is the remdesivir, the 100 mg lyophilized powder and the part quenchable solution. So it was approved for the treatment of the moderate to severe COVID-19 patients with the conditions, with the restrictions, with the indications which are already in the. So it was like this particular approval was for the manufacturers on the basis of a technology transfer from the innovators product. So there are innovators whose product was initially approved, and then subsequently the Indian manufacturers with the similar technology was approved with the waiver of the clinical trial based on this technology transfer and based on the data generated on the drugs manufactured in India. And at point of time, the data available at that point of time. So there was a comparability, which was, we would be going to the subsequent slides to see that what are the different, data requirements for the approval of the new drug in the country, as it is already there in the new drugs and the clinical trial rules. So here this, considering this emergency and this here, in case of this approval, there was a specifically when this approval was made, there was a conditions for in all cases that there would be informed consent would be taken, which would be in a language which is understandable to the patients, and it would be each case the patient would be administered this drug with the informed consent or of the patients or his representative, And also it should not be used in case of a renal or hepatic impairment cases, and it should be done with an active surveillance for each and every cases. So such different type of conditions were given for the approval of this remdesivir, and similarly for the favipiravir tablets 200 mg and 400 mg tablets, which was also given with the restrictions and with the indications. It was given on the basis of a phase 2 trial initially, on the basis of interim report, and then subsequently. So what I'm trying to point out is that the permission went on as per the requirement, as per the conditions, and as per the data provided at that point of time, which was which was most needed at as a regulatory response, we would say. So it was also given with that restriction of informed consent process, informed consent at each from the patients, and then data of all patients being made available to the CDSO, records of all the patients, and also an active surveillance, and and also the, as I said, the post-marketing surveillance. Similarly, there was also the one of the drug which is already used for some other for the purpose of the plaque psoriasis for since 2012, the itolizumab, who was itolizumab injection, which was given specific permission for the treatment on the basis of some a trial, a phase 2 trial in the patients in the for a small trial based on the data generated, and it was for the treatment of the CRS, the cytokine release syndrome, in the complicated COVID situations in the patients with the ARDS, the acute respiratory distress syndrome. So these are the three drugs, and with the similar conditions of informed consent forms, post marketing trial, as well as the restrictions for use in some specific group of patients. While for remdesivir and for the favipiravir, it was the restrictions on the hepatic and the renal impairment. There was also some specific restrictions for the itolizumab injection. So this was the way the three drugs which was given, so that it can the country can get the drug for the immediate treatment. And how the, as I said, that in the beginning it was mentioned, the guidance showed that the how the data can be, how the animal toxicity data or the various data generated, including the stability data, how these abbreviations, deferment, or it can be considered was indicated, and how the regulatory pathway would go on was indicated, and there was specific regulatory pathway which was followed for these permissions. So here, as I said, I would say that how really we responded, what was was it possible to respond in this manner? This it was that there was really since long various measures have been taken by the government, by the Ministry of Health, by CDSO, for streamlining these rules, regulations, review process, and various other regulatory activities. These are the regulatory enablers, I would say, the new drugs and the clinical trial rules 2019. The subsequent slides, I would just summarize the salient points, how it is a regulatory enabler. The medical device rules 2017, the e-governance, the entire Sugam online system, the e-governance system for drug approval, drug processing, was the greatest enabler in this handling this first drug approval process. The various checklist for submissions of applications, review of applications, the prescribed timelines for the various activities, and also not only the prescribed timelines, the first track, how the increasing accelerated increasing, making it very fast. The first track approval was actually the thing which has happened in this process, and how it was taken up. So there was prescribed timelines, but the timelines were reduced to subsequently. There was reduced timelines for all activities subsequently. So there was guidelines, FAQs, notices for streamlining the regulations. So these are the regulatory enablers, and there was a number of various informations, notices, guidances, which was issued related to the, I would say, starting from the issuance of, for example, for COPP or the stability or the import of a specific product, so which has actually enabled during this COVID-19, handling this COVID-19 situation. There was the Public Relation Office for the Regulatory Deals, which is already established, the PRO for the regulatory guidance to all the startups, innovators, for the grievance redressal, and for handling all queries of the applicants through the various expert committees, through the other concerned divisions. So these are the regulatory enablers which we can say. Considering this, how these new drugs and the clinical trial rules, because it has all the provisions, and it is as per, it contains all the provisions which made it at par with the global best practices for safety and efficacy evaluation. It includes the expansion of the definition of the new drug, just to highlight to the people. Obviously the people know this because but for those who have not recently gone through this, that there has been the definition which includes all the novel drug delivery system, the various modified release drug delivery system, the sustained release product. These have come under the definition of the new drugs, always which is a new drug, and it has helped in the real assessment of such drug, the how the drugs should be reviewed for giving necessary permission. Then there is a specific time-bound disposal of applications. There is actually a provision of deemed approval of the clinical trials of indigenously developed molecules. If a molecule is developed indigenously, it is an R&D, and R&D has been done in India, then in such case, if the clinical trial application is not responded within 30 days, then it is considered to be deemed approved. So there has been provisions for there are provisions in the new drug and the clinical trial rules for the accelerated approval and the waiver of the clinical trial, considering on the basis of the severity, rarity, or the prevalence of the disease, and on the basis of the availability or the lack of alternative treatments, or when there is a meaningful therapeutic benefit, when this particular therapy which has been actually applied for has a meaningful therapeutic benefit over the existing treatment. And there is also provisions for expedited review. So these are the things which has come up, which actually helped in doing this first drug approval process in handling this situation. There are also many other things in this, which are some of these, like the compensation guidelines has been put into these new drug and clinical trial rules. There has been pre-submission and post-submission regulatory guidance scope, which CDSO conducts regularly. There is a post-marketing safety assessment, which includes the post-marketing trial, phase 4 trial, post-marketing other active surveillance or passive surveillance, observational studies, as well as submission of the pharmacovigilance, which is we understand now is the most important part. Once the drugs with the limited safety data are in the market and is being used in this public health emergency. So there is this post-marketing safety assessment gives a lot of insights into how to handle and how to go with these drugs which are already in the market and with the limited safety data and now in the actual use settings. So that then there are the provisions of constitution of the expert committees to look into the various type of applications and to give the recommendations. There is definition of the orphan drugs intended to treat a condition which affects less than 5 lakhs persons in India. There has been separate provisions for registration of ethics committee for the marketing authorization approval, for new drug approval, and also for the biomedical research. So these are some of the salient points which I would like to highlight in case of the new drugs clinical trial rules. Also the medical device rules, which also indicates a complete online system and which has been, which is effective from the January of 2018. It specifically has given the guidance on the clinical investigation, manufacture, import, and distribution of the medical devices, which include also the in vitro diagnostic kits. I understand that when in March, we had not a single COVID-19 kits. And when we stand today, we have more than 250 COVID-19 testing kits, diagnostic kits, which includes almost 150 or 100, more than 100 rapid testing kits, and also the PCR kits and the ELISA kits and many other types. And we have, when there was not a single COVID-19 kits manufacturer, and right now we have almost, I'm not sure, but about 40 or more COVID-19 indigenously manufacturer of these COVID-19 PCR testing kits and the various kits. So this is what is the response, like how the country's manufacturers responded and how this permission was gained. I said that there was no regulation, there was not a single manufacturer, and today we are here. And we remember that the first COVID-19 testing kits manufacturers, indigenously manufactured testing kits manufacturer was from this West zone when they came up, and when there was a lockdown situations and the inspections was taken up on an urgent and emergency basis. So the issuance of the test license even was only on a single day. That only one day, but I think everything was done on, if each day was important, and each day one permission was issued, and it was not with any compromise of data. It was, that was the first thing I'd like to say, that there was no compromise of data. So there was a test license issued. There was a, that is the reason I just wanted to say this about this, that so there was an online system which was the greatest enabler, that the applicants made their applications in the online system. The applications was reviewed in the first track basis as an accelerated approval review process, and because it was online, it was this e-governance, this platform has actually helped. And then issuing the manufacturer testing license, and they immediately manufactured the kits, and they set the specifications, and so that the scientific community has worked with us, the various scientific institutions like ICMR, the DBT, which were working hand in with the CDSU, and also the other department which has worked in ensuring the availability. So just to name a few, but basically ICMR along with CDSU has published the COVID-19 testing kits guidelines for validation and for the testing batch release of those kits, which is there in the website if you see. And it has indicated that how the test kits, what are the requirements for testing of the kits would be, and also there are specific guidelines on the what would be the performance evaluation characteristics, what would be the specificity or the sensitivity which are to be met by these kits. So what I try to say is that immediate response by the institutions like ICMR along with CDSO, and evaluating the kits with the set parameters, establishing their own parameters, testing the kits and giving the permission. That was the first thing which started in the month of March. We started getting one after another the kits which are available other than the imported kits. So this was and also at the same time, as I said, that the public relation office and in fact all the offices, whether it is CDSU or the state drug control, actually who communicated with all the applicants, with all the people who were in the questions in regarding this import of the testing kits, how it would be done and how it can be, how this first it can be taken up and immediately the license can be issued. So these are some of the things I just thought that I should share that. And even when the kits were given with the performance assessment report of ICMR for one, suppose, and from the testing reports from the NIV Pune of one batch or one lot, there was a specific condition. So what was actually given was that, as he was telling, that you can have a permission of a clinical trial of phase 1 when there is a not even the animal study is going on parallelly with the limited data. So similarly, that when the kits was given the permission, so there was a parallel review of the test license, the marketing authorization applications. So it was not one after another. So they can apply for a test license, they can apply for an import license, they can apply for a manufacturing license all together, and as soon as the data get ready, and they started submitting, and so that the applications move on. And specific permissions on that, like MD29, which is the marketing authorization permission, was given subsequently. So it's like you get a manufacturing license for manufacturing the kit, and the marketing authorization license are given subsequently. So these are all the procedures which was followed. And this risk-based classification clearly identified the class A, class B, like we came to know about the viral transport media, the VTM kits coming to the class A and class B, and the state drug controllers did it so fast in giving the permissions for such type of kits. And then with the RNA extraction kits coming to this class C, class D, so the COVID kits in the class C or in the class D. And so this risk-based classification, enabling them to apply immediately with the necessary documentations, with the necessary data, and getting the permissions to make it available. So these are like some of the, I would not go through it in details. So there is a, everybody knows that in case of these medical device rules, we do not talk about the GMP, but we talk about the quality management system in line with the ISO 13485, and that was the basis of inspections for the manufacturing facilities for medical, for these IVD kits or for the medical devices. And there are clear-cut, directions, and there's the 5th schedule says about how this compliance should be made by the manufacturer. So these rules are very clear with the drug master, with the specific content of the device master file, with the specific content of the plant master file, which help the manufacturers in making the applications. There are also very clear directions on the separate provisions for the regulations of the clinical investigation or clinical performance of the investigational new medical devices or in vitro diagnostic kits at par with the international practices. So these documents, these two rules, the new drugs clinical trial rules and the medical device rules, in fact, made all the applications, actually has promoted this scientific and ethical research of new drugs, vaccines, and devices with lot of provisions, with many such provisions which are at par with the international practices as well as which are suited for this country. As I said, that the accelerated approval process or the expedited review process, along with the various specific rules and the provisions specifically indicating where you can go for a abbreviated data, where you can go for a data deferment, and where you can accept data which is which is not exactly the one. So there is, I would just go to the next slides and would explain that. Um, so these are the current, it's a very simple slides, like the current regulatory pathway for domestic or imported new drugs and vaccines. So once is that you have to have a permission for test license, for test license for test or analysis or for clinical trial. And in case of imported, permission for test license for import for test and analysis and clinical trial. And then you have to get the permission. Once you complete this test analysis, you do the preclinical testing, then you get a permission to conduct the clinical trial. Once successful completion of the clinical trial, you apply for the manufacturer, for the marketing authorization permission. So permission to manufacture, for sale and distribution. And then finally, this is called the marketing authorization permission, which we nowadays call as a CT 21, 22, 23. Those are the permissions. And then finally, manufacturing license for sale and distribution, or which is being granted by the state regulatory authorities. And for some special products, for like vaccines, along with CDSO. And in case of the imported, you get the registration and import license. As I said, that as an immediate response in case of this COVID-19, it was allowed to have that if the drug is for the treatment of the COVID-19, import license can be granted without the registration, with the approval of the government, as well as in case there was many notifications or notices or was given where there would be no requirement of the notarization or the legalization of the documents, which becomes a hurdle for immediate registration of the product. So there was like when there is an extension of the validity of the COPP, for example, like all these from 2 to 3 years has actually enabled that and there was a specific clarification that this can be used for giving extension to the manufacturer for the issuance of, this is one of the example, like and then they can they can actually sell their product, and they can actually export their product without the without inspection at that point of time. So like these were some of the things which there were many such guidances and guidelines which has been issued. So this is a simple process of approval of new drugs, where the application was, so these are all online system at present. So you have the online Sugam system, where there are different levels of reviewers, the nodal officers, and then the finally the decision authority, deputy decision authority. So there are different levels of review, and then finally the approval is done by the licensing authority when the application is received, examination by CDSO if there is a query, and then based on the query response, then finally there is an evaluation by the expert committee for the drugs. And this is for someone who is newly looking into this new drug approval process, I know that most of the people must be already aware of this process, and those who belong to the CDSCO. So this is, I just wanted to show this just to say that the process looks so simple. The process is not simple, and taking a decision on the basis of this process was not an easy task, but it was done. And it was around, since March to now, there has been more than 250 applications, and there has been of these COVID-19 applications of various drugs which have been reviewed by this expert committee. And there has been special COVID-19 expert committee to handle all such applications of COVID-19 drugs, the vaccines, and also uh, just uh, just to name a few, like it was all such applications. But what I try to say, that it can be anybody who has come with that this is a drug which can, we I understand that it is actually, it is useful in the COVID-19. So this committee has given a guidance to such applicant also, that whether it can be really possible to come as a new drug in the country, or they should go into some other alternative way, like whether it should go to the way of nutraceuticals or to the way of others. So this was like in the different mode, and the way the expert committee has given regulatory guidance to all the applicants, to the whosoever has come for these applications. So this is the evaluation which is done, and based on the recommendation, the approval is given. So initially for the clinical trial permission, once the clinical trial is completed, then it was, if for an investigational new drug, then there are various steps like phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and then it comes back with the report. So phase 1 completed comes for a phase 2, and then phase 2 completed comes for a phase 3, and then phase 3 completed. So these are normally taken up, but mostly, as most of the drugs are in India comes with the already approved outside, in that case, or it is a drug which is we know that how are the drugs which come, it is very few are indigenously and developed, R&D is developed in India. So many of the trials come directly from the preclinical stage to the phase 3 trial. And once the phase 3 report is done, then the permission is given for approval, or if the report is not acceptable, then rejection. So this is just a simple things process. And this is just to show a complex process, how this rDNA vaccines, so many regulators are involved in this for the approval. So in the preclinical stage, when an rDNA vaccine is coming, so that's like the COVID-19 vaccines which has been developed in the platform of this rDNA platform, recombinant platform. So there are so many bodies who are involved in this approval along with CDSCO, the RCGM under the DBT, the IBSC, the Committee for the Purpose under the CPC-ACA, Committee for the Purpose of Control and Supervision of Experiments on Animals, and then the GEAC, the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, in case it is a genetically modified organisms, or is something which is new. And also there is so we have so many expert committees who are involved along with CDSCO for review of such applications in the preclinical stage. So once the preclinical applications is once the application comes, then there is the approval by this GEAC, by this RCGM, by this IBSC. So once these bodies approve, then it goes to CDSCO along with the clinical trial applications for a new rDNA vaccines, And then but only enabler is that there can be parallel. So there are such vaccines which are here, and so these bodies have actually come together, and it has been lot of this discussions has happened, that how to reduce the timeline and involving so many bodies together who comes in this regulatory approval process, because it is important that the preclinical, so these bodies, in fact, when this approval has taken up, it has worked parallelly. When the application has come to both CDSCO as well as there, and in fact RCGM and CDSCO has together issued a guidance on the approval of the rDNA vaccines preclinical stage. So it was together the guidance for the preclinical submission for such rDNA vaccines was made and published in the CDSCO website by and it was already it was also published in the RCGM website as well as the, so the regulatory submission, the checklist, how it should be submitted, what are the documents, what are the data requirement was clearly indicated in that particular guidance. So that's the way the different, other experts, other ministries, other bodies also has worked together with CDSCO to handle these applications, to make these applications. It's in fact, it's a very first areas, and how all people have come together with the solution is important, and how they have really worked to make available the vaccines immediately for a clinical trial, assessing the data which has been submitted for the preclinical part, or for the for application for the phase 1 clinical trial, and then for the subsequent phase 2, phase 3 clinical trial. So these are the it was a great task to make things happen together, and get this, and in fact many such government has started to think on how to bring everything together in one common platform. So going to this approval process, so this which is it's a complex process, and it goes through this Sugam online system. And if you see this data requirement, whether it is for drugs or it is for the vaccines, all this is as per the second schedule of the new drug clinical trial rules 2019, which says about the chemical and the pharmaceutical information, the physicochemical properties which are required for a structural elucidation of the drug, the various, the solubility, the dissociation constant, the partition coefficient, and then the enantiomeric impurities, or the NMR mass spectra. So every details are given in the second schedule. So what are the data requirement? So I said that the new drug clinical trial rules with the already this such data requirement was already available in the schedule Y appendix 1, and the same with the more clarity on the as per the checklist, as per the Sugam online system, because the Sugam online system has been developed more on the line with the common technical document. It was more which is acceptable to the, as per the international practices, the CTT format, along with the elements of this second schedule. It has been developed, so it includes this various various parameters which is to be complied and fulfilled, and which is to be tested for the APIs, and for the finally for the finished formulations, starting from the development of the specifications, manufacturing formula, excipient compatibility study, stability study of different stages. So this goes on like it's a very, I cannot say that it's like so many things are to be done for a specific approval process. And I wanted to include this. I just wanted to mention this, that just to highlight that it is not a easy process. When you look into the data, when you try to look it in a first drug basis, is it possible really to compromise with the data, with the quality data? No, it is not possible. So there has been the modalities has been made that unless the data is ready, that it cannot be reviewed. So the data has to be ready, and the data has to be submitted. The drug has to be developed. So we started inspections from the various stages. So during this development of the drug, I would just like to share some of the experiences, like when the remdesivir or the favipiravir or the various drugs were coming up. The inspection started from the very beginning, from the R&D stages. The inspections has been conducted to see their drug data development, and then when they are scaling up from one facility to the next, and from that facility to the next. So I just wanted to share that how they have changed and how they have made this data. So there was a continued, monitoring of this data development, and these were all because of this, that there has been mentioned in this new drugs and the clinical trial rules, that there can be the inspections, the enabling the inspections at the R&D stages, and in the pilot stages, and then finally in the commercial stages. So everywhere there was a monitoring when the manufacturer was developing the data, and based on the at that point data generated, the permission was given with some restrictions, and with the specific shelf life at that point of time, and with the various other conditions as per the clinical and the safety data which was generated at that point of time. And whenever the data was available for the products which are available for example, for the remdesivir. So that was the comparability data which the manufacturer has to generate it for their product. So that is the way. And as we know that for remdesivir, there was a restricted emergency use. I have already informed. Permission restricted emergency use permission was given without clinical trial because it was based on the comparability with the innovator's product, and there was a tech transfer for all the manufacturers who have received the permission in case of the remdesivir injection. So here, as I said, the accelerated approval process, when in the regulatory pathway for this fast track review or approval, what is done? There is an accelerated approval process, and there is also another is a quick or expedited review process. So when when this accelerated approval process is acceptable, that is when really you do not have and because there is not enough time to get a standard clinical outcome measures. So it is not possible to get and come to a clinical endpoint that whether it is free of the disease or that the disease will not occur, but rather you have to consider a surrogate endpoint. Reduction in the viral load, some blood parameters. So you have to depend on this surrogate marker. And similarly, you have to give the conditions approval with the condition of post-marketing trials, and then also consideration of the efficacy in the phase 2 trial clinical trial. So based on the phase 2 trial clinical trial report with a defined dose, you give a permission. In fact, exactly the same thing has happened when these permissions were granted for these drugs. So I said that the new drug and the clinical trial rules with these provisions of accelerated approval process or has given this enabler for CDSCO for going into this, first track approval process. And similarly for the quick or expedited review process also, when there is not evidence of safety efficacy has been established from the preclinical data, or that there is currently no established management, there is no strategy available, but currently there is no established strategy available for the treatment, and that also that without completing all the phases of the clinical trials, it is needed because currently there is no available data, and also that the preclinical data has given proof that there is some efficacy. So then in such cases also the manufacturer come and can approach the regulator for a quick or expedited review, and that was what it was done for all such drugs. So this is like these requirements of licensor has never changed. So as I said that this is the minimum requirements for the preclinical studies, whether it is for a new drug or for the vaccines, that you have to conduct the single dose and then the repeat dose systemic toxicity studies, and then where you need and if these are the minimum requirement I wanted to say. So this was never abbreviated. It was a submission requirement along with the other data, and if already available data, or if there is reports from the other studies which has been conducted in other countries. So this is like simple, like I just wanted to give an example, like what is the minimum data requirement for a preclinical study where you need to have a single dose toxicity study for at least in 2 rodent species using the same route of administration for a 14 days, and when there is a repeat dose toxicity systemic toxicity study in at least 2 mammalian species, of which one should be non-rodent, while 28 days studies can be acceptable in case of vaccines. For the drugs, it is needed to be sometimes more like 90 days, and as per the usage of the drug. And then you need to have a dose ranging study and identification of the target organ of toxicity and establishment of the maximum tolerated dose. So this is the preclinical studies. It cannot be done in less time. It needs a long time. And then, as I said, in case of the clinical studies, you cannot wait for a clinical endpoint, but you have to have data generated. You have to find out a surrogate endpoint because you need the drug. This is a public health emergency. So that's what is now, currently being studied for the COVID-19 vaccines, that how you are going to plan. So I just, as it is on ongoing clinical trial, that how you are really going to come to, and whether it would be sufficient time based on the immunogenicity study, or really you should take up, how long you should take the study, whether a 3-month study, whether a 3 months follow-up, or whether a 6 months follow-up. So it's because finally, whatever are the doses which have been set for the different vaccines at this moment of time, for the different phases of the clinical trial, whether it's phase 1 or the phase 2 and the phase 3. So it's like different vaccines are different, like some has with a 0-14 and then a follow-up, or somebody has a 0-14, 28 and 56 days. So if you see the WHO site, you will get all the different doses and the administration schedules of the different type of vaccines. And but finally, what would be the follow-up period based on which you can really say that yes, now the safety, we can consider that the vaccine can be safe for the marketing authorization permission, and we can give permission uh, for administration to the mass. So that is the most important. And so I would just like to point out that at this moment of time, CDSO has also published guidance, which is in the draft stage, for the permission of the clinic, for permission for vaccines, guidance for the marketing approval of the vaccines related to the clinical trial, related to the data submission for the preclinical toxicity, as well as for the chemistry manufacturing, the CMC part. So this has been recently published at par with the regulatory guidances of EMA, WHO, and also with the US FDA. So this guidelines, so such kind of response has been taken up, and including that guidelines specifically also include how to submit data in case of the COVID-19 vaccines. So submission of data for the COVID-19 guidances for the submission, regulatory submission for vaccines has been also published very recently. And all this indicates that what type of data you need to submit and what are the minimum requirements to ascertain the safety of the vaccine other than the efficacy of the vaccines. Yes, you have given the vaccines, the immunogenicity is available, you have the antibodies detected, and you say that yes, we have also done the neutralization title, but it doesn't mean that yes, the safety has been established. So what sufficient time should really ascertain the safety of the vaccines is also very important, and whether what are the adverse events which would be like for some. So WHO has prepared a list of adverse events of special interest of specific to this COVID-19, and these are very, very important, and everybody has working on it. So taking a regulatory decision in the right manner is not so easy. And so it with these different enablers, the regulator has to take the decisions along with the various expert committee that how to come up with the correct decisions at the right point of time. So these are the some of the data requirements which are for the chemistry manufacturing and control for the vaccine, specifically product and process characterization. As I was saying about those structural elucidation, similarly product and process characterization, critical quality attributes, critical process parameters you have to establish. Similarly, for the drugs, you have to find out the in-process quality parameters. So if you just parallelly see, I would say that there would be like many sessions on this specifically for, because this is not a enough time for discussing the different data submission requirements, but all data are required to take a decision, to take a correct regulatory decision, to take a scientific regulatory decision, to make a science-based decision. So as I said, that high quality development of the assay, reference standards development, qualification, stability, and your stability should be up to the, so that till such time you have to go into, so it is only that we have to be the enablers, we have to have the flexibility in that as much as the data generated, you have to accept the product, and accordingly you can administer. When you do the clinical trial, it says that up to the, it should have the shelf life up to which time you are going to use these particular vaccines for that particular phase of trial. Or similarly, now when the marketing authorization approval has been given for the different drugs, it is also with the same, has come up with the shelf life at that point of time. So that's probably the way we are responding. The CDSO and all the regulators have responded. So this is like how you have to, it says about that the long-term stability data using risk-based approach, mechanism strategy to extend further the shelf life. Then in case of the vaccines, the lot to lot consistency, pre-marketing commitment for lot release and consistency lots, then the inspection and the Finally, in case of the vaccines, you have a lot release and lot-to-lot consistency, 3-batch consistency test by CDL Kasoli. So this is for vaccines. Um, there is so many things like I may not have, it is not possible for me to really cover the all the endeavor of all the department. You've seen the other department like who has worked along with the Ministry of the Health to look into the for ensuring the affordability for making the medicines and the oxygen and the various other sanitizers and everything available at the right price by also. So this I would not, these are the aligned other ministries who have worked together along with CDSU and along with the Ministry of Health, along with all the state regulators to handle everything in this and to control the price, to make the medicines available, to stop the hoarding, and I think all the regulators by this time have known that how much they have worked. I would like to just point out really, in this about the recent another treatment like the COVID, which we are directly not involved, the convalescent plasma, which is therapy is also which is proposed in the DGH's protocol for the treatment of the COVID patients, for which the plasmapheresis permission, how first this plasmapheresis permission has been granted together with the state drug control through the inspection, immediate processing of applications, and then finally by approval of the DCGI for getting a plasmapheresis permission so that such plasma can be collected and then it can be used. So there has been different guidances on the use of those convalescent plasma, but I said that the basic function, the plasmapheresis approval. So and how many plasmapheresis approval has taken place and inspection has been done and it is continuing. So this is like that it is the list is endless and I really cannot summarize everything properly. Probably I have not been able to summarize everything really properly. But anyway, what I have can summarize here the lessons which I have learned in this past few months, being located in one of the locations which is the red zone of the country, and that every day there was all the everything was closed and there was lot of restrictions imposed, and still you have to have the people moving into the field for doing the work. So everybody knows now the entire drug regulatory mechanism has worked in this manner, that it is important that the approval process, the accelerated, approval and the review process, this has increased. It has increased markedly, and then it is very important that rapid response through the first track approval process. And what is the enablers for this first track approval process? It is there in the rules. It is there in the new drugs clinical trial rules. It has, and everything, the guidance is very clear. So we could use this guidance, we could use this process to make this happen. So this rapid response to the first track approval process, and then judging, making a benefit risk assessment. What are the products, what type of products, where it is risk, and what is the data available. This was most important to make a risk assessment. Rapid response to this first track approval process without compromise to quality, safety, efficacy. And that is important is that rolling reviews. As soon as you receive data, you review. You apply, you receive applications parallelly. As it said that the preclinical, some data, and along with that the first phase 1 trial, and while going to the phase 2 even you have some additional data on higher primates. So I know that there are vaccine trials going on where the phase 2 trial is being undergone, and all the phase 3 trial there is also a parallel clinical trial in the primates. So all those things like non-human primates, it's being done. So it's like you have to find out a specific toxicity, specific indications, and you go for testing of that particular thing in the animal model as well, just to come, to say that yes, you have to eliminate the risk, or whether there is a risk and you cannot continue with the process. And similarly with the various drug approval, with the kits approval, when there is an issues, you have to take immediately actions for the which has happened for a lot of such rapid kits in the country. So rolling reviews and going ahead subsequently is important. then working in coordination with the various government department, all the relevant ministries, the institutions, the scientists and the research communities to come to the, making the what would be the, so together CDSO along with the ICMR established the process validation and the batch release guidance for the COVID-19 kits, which was urgently needed for all type of kits, including the VTM and RNA extraction, which was not manufactured in this country, and everything was imported from China. And we have right now so many indigenous manufacturers. So the capacity building was like it was enormous. And with this enablers, when the scientists, the research communities, the relevant these institutions have worked hand in hand with the Ministry of Health and with the CDSO, the expert group, and then we have that the platform, international platform, the exchange platform with the other regulators as well as with the WHO. And then this post-marketing assessment, it gives a vivid and it's a complete, clear guidances on how you should go about in the post-marketing. Other than earlier, we had only a guidance on the post-marketing. It was only the submission of the periodic safety update reports of new drugs up to 4 years. That was the only guidance in the Schedule Y. And right now, we talk about the observational studies, the phase 4 trial, the clear on the requirement under the active surveillance. So all these things actually, and the pharmacovigilance. So finally, I can say that government has assessed and ensured the availability of the essential medicines and sanitizers, as well as protective equipments, including masks, PPE kits, oxygen, as well as first track processing of the applications for the clinical trials, including vaccines for COVID, and taken all possible measures to meet this public health emergency for COVID. And we are still in the middle of the pandemic, and we are working, and it is needed that all the departments work in coordinations, and we have to look ahead that as and when whatever comes to us, whenever a new product comes to us, how we can really handle that new products. It is very important that we may not have the right at that moment of time, we may not have the guidelines or the enablers to handle that product, but we have to learn through, and we have to go through, and then we have to really find out a solution. We cannot sit quiet and say that we do not have anything and so we can't do it. So that is the way we have to work. We have to respond, and we have to equally have a flexible, as it was told. So the entire e-governance system, the Sugam online system, the new drugs clinical trial rules, the medical device rules have given a transparent, predictable accountability a lot in doing and handling situations, and all the state government machineries responding to all such request, information, communications from CDSU and the Ministry of Health have actually helped us in coping this situation and still combating this situation. So thank you very much for giving me this excellent opportunity. For me, it is really a very, very proud moment that you have given me this excellent opportunity to say about this situation and this current topic in this platform. And once again, thank you, Adcock, and all my best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the detailed presentation on wide range of regulatory responses and different situations. Now the floor is open for the question and answer session. So if any attendees wants to have a discussion on the topics that we have discussed right now, you can post the questions in chat box, in Q&A session. Alternatively, if anybody wants to have a direct conversation with the speaker, then you can raise your hand. We'll enable you to speak and have a discussion directly with the Dr. Rubina Bose, ma'am. Madam, there are few questions in the Q&A, so I'd like to take few questions among that. So there is a question from Mr. Karthik. He would like to know how the agency is planning to roll out the vaccine once it is available for public use. Is there any preference given to the healthcare workers and senior citizens to be first vaccinated and then to the general public? And what is the capacity planning mitigated for the whole Indian population?
That would be decided by the highest committee of the government, and not really by the regulators. So we have to wait for the right decision.
If any of the audience wanted to have questions directly with the speaker, you can raise your hand so that we'll enable you to have a discussion directly with all the speakers.
Specific questions are there?
How effective is the use of hydroxychloroquine as a prophylactic drug? And how valid its use scientifically? Seems all the questions are a generalized kind of a questions. And
Yes. You have the answers with you if you read through the solidarity trial reports and all other reports. I think it's no use to ask this question, isn't it, at this moment of time? You have the answers already with you. You have the...
Please.
No, please tell.
There is another question. Can we start clinical trial of phytopharmaceuticals at clinics here in Kolkata on advance of ethical committee and registering at the clinical trial registry and apply for CDSCO approval?
You can start a trial only after approval of CDSCO. So for starting of the clinical trial, so as I showed the regulatory pathway, and if you have seen that chemistry pharmaceutical, the data submission, if you go to the second schedule, there is a table 4 for the phytopharmaceutical drug. So you have to submit all your data for the phytopharmaceutical drug accordingly, and then you have to come to CDSCO with the preclinical study report, or the if it is already available and already informed, then it may be an abbreviated toxicity study, or it may not be needed. But depending on the drug which is we are proposing, the phytopharmaceutical, with all that table for submission of second schedule, you have to come to CDSCO along with the protocol for clinical trial. And once you get an approval from the CDSCO expert committee for the clinical trial, then only you can start a clinical trial. So phytopharmaceuticals are under the new drug and the clinical trial rules, and its definition is included in the new drug and clinical trial rules.
There is another question. What are the regulatory responses which were taken during pandemic, be normalized or made institutional post-COVID by CDSCO and the state authorities?
Okay. That's great. What is the lessons learned? I said no. So one is that, how we can reduce timeline by making the various agencies together, working together. As I was showing for one of the, this is one of my personal views, that as I was saying, the various authorities together giving the drug approval in the preclinical stage for like RCGM, the IPSC and the GAC. So if all can be brought together and reduce the timeline, that was probably the one of the important thing. And then the truly is that how best we can, this is the first thing, reduce timeline, and with less risk, and how to minimize risk, reducing the timeline. And anything more which we have learned, yes, decision, as I said, decision, how we can really come to a right decision, scientific decision, based on the data available. And as I said in the lessons learned, the rolling reviews, that it is not always possible for you to be rigid and receive all applications. So you learn for probably the accelerated approval, expedited approval, rolling reviews. These are some of the lessons which we have learned. And also vigilance, monitoring, development of a database. These are some of the things which is important for us. We need to have develop our database right now for the drugs in the country.
There is another question regarding the clinical trial for children are necessary or not?
Yes, there are, if you see the new drug and the clinical trial rules, if you go through that, you see that there are reasons where when there is if the drug is specifically for the treatment of the children. Yes, there are clinical trial for children are needed specifically. And also for the vaccines, you can see there are different stages trials are planned, for the higher group, for initially for the healthy adult subjects, and then for the and a specific group of children below the adults. So that way the vaccine trial, because vaccines are finally, most of the vaccines other than this, like such influenza vaccines, most of the vaccines which are given in the program are administered to the children. Definitely such trials are conducted in the healthy children.
Ma'am, we have our senior regulator and ad hoc officer, Dharmadata Garu. So he wanted to have a discussion with you on some subject.
Yes.
Sir, you can. Hello. Hello. Dharmadata sir, are you there, sir? Meanwhile, we'll take another question, ma'am.
Hello?
How many?
Yeah,
Yes,
is there.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
You have done a very excellent work.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. So I want to have I want to clear one doubt from you. I think you must be having the data from all the states, how they have responded to the COVID-19 situation. Especially, they have responded to the curbing of spurious sanitizers and stopping of black marketing of the remdesivir and also tocilizumab, etc., etc. Lot of work was done. Do you have time to time they must be sending to you also center? Do you have that data, madam, to say something about state work?
Right now, I do not have that data, but yes, the data is there with the CDSU, where the state has shared the report, action taken report, where they have done this specific raids or conducted the vigilance monitoring activities and stopped such activities. The state has from time to time sent the action taken report to the CGI office. It is there. Right now, yes, there should be, like, I think ADCOC can, you can ask somebody once upon a time to give a presentation of such data, like the different states, but they have done an excellent job for curbing such activities. But right now, I do not have the data, but they have an action taken report to share with the CGI office.
That would have been an inspiration to all these people in this platform, actually. Okay.
It's true. It's true. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, there is another question in the chat box that how many indigenous COVID-19 vaccines have been approved for clinical trial?
So as you know that presently the trial with there are 2-3 manufacturers whose trial are going on. It's available in the public domain. If you go to the CTRI site, the Bharat Biotech, and also there is Zydus and also the Serum Institute with the vaccine trials in the different stages like phase 1 and phase 2. This serum with the phase 3 trial approval. Ongoing trial is going on, and there are some applications which are in the coming up stage. They have taken the test license permissions and doing the preclinical studies and will apply for the phase 1. So that's it. But the data is not yet completed. The trial is ongoing. Just phase 3 for the trial which is already there, which is going in outside in the Oxford vaccine trial, which is already going outside. That is the only vaccine which has reached the phase 3 stage in India at present. So that's the stage right now.
On a conservative estimate, what could be the timeline when we get to the vaccine?
It's truly difficult, but not earlier than next year. And even if we say specifically that 6 months is sufficient data, it's really I think the entire scientific community is now working on that, because we know that in many countries the phase 3 is it has been conducted, but and actually the vaccine dose administration means it finishes, isn't it? 014 or 02856 and it finished. But how long the safety follow-up should be done to really see that yes, the efficacy is there and also there is no safety issues. That is the thing which has to be decided by the expert groups and by the entire scientific communities, and even by WHO is actually working on that. And that what would be the real time to decide that yes, the vaccine is safe and we can administer. So what would be the safety follow-up period? That is important. So whatever phase 3 trial has been done, like already the dose administration has taken place, and even the subsequent doses, but the follow-up is going on. So let us see what would be the right time.
Banu, if you ask this question instead of Ravina, some politician, they will say 26th January.
So they didn't mention the year actually. That's the problem.
Yeah. True.
There is another question from the state regulator that do we have any mechanism in place to counteract before people go for hoarding of medicines in case of pandemic, as lot of profiteering and hoarding takes place during this COVID?
It actually everybody has responded to that basically, as I was saying in the first slides, that as soon as the long before the pandemic was declared, the government has asked all the stakeholders, the manufacturers, organization associations, the state governments, all the machineries, to ensure that the merchanters, the merchant importers, the stockies, they don't hoard the API and the KSM, and these are available. And this has been done by all of you. All the state regulators were involved in this, all the machineries were involved in that, so that there is no hoarding before. It was beforehand, started since January, I said.
Thank you, ma'am. And we have Muhammad Yunus, the Joint Secretary of ADCOC, the regulator from the Jammu and Kashmir, and he wanted to have a discussion with you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon, sir.
That was an excellent presentation made by you. Many congrats to you. I had just posed a question before the Madam Lakshmi has told you regarding this profiting hoarding. Had been a lot of, I had personally seen, because I am related with this COVID activities right from March 20th. Till date, I am also responsible for procuring the medicines from J&K state, from other parts of the country. But still then, I want to make a point over here that lots of profiteering, especially in case of the masks and the sanitizers, had been made. But in case of the pandemics, we should have something in place before people go for such kind of the activities. Because these are, I should say in my place, these are sort of criminal activities. You have to have such a, I should say, hard hand on those people who just take a lot of advantage during these pandemic days.
And it's true. And in fact, most of the state government missionaries who are in the field have worked on these, and they have taken a lot of actions. Many I keep on reading and I know that the action taken report has been sent by all the states. Like I think many states have done such activities along with the police, along with their own missionaries, and they have worked and stopped. But this is a very normal. It's not normal, but it happens whenever there is a crisis or the crisis.
But madam, I would like to tell you that a lot of people were not coming out of their homes because of this COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of people were afraid of taking the actions. That's why I'm telling you something should be in place during those pandemic times, because there was hardly any movement on the roads during this pandemic.
At that point of time, the people were scared. It's true. Yes. I think these are the lessons learned now, that how to handle the pandemic. Like this pandemic is not ending. No, this pandemic will maybe continued for some time. We really don't know when this pandemic is going to end. But this will probably will teach the government how to handle such situation in the future whenever. Because I used to hear at that point of time that you should not panic, everything would be available. Even if there is a lockdown, the government used to give lot of the PM and the different government machinery every day used to come and say about the availability, about what is the current process, what is the things, how the things are being taken up. I think that's the way. One is that communications and making it, and in the making the machineries more active. I mean, making it more vigilant. That's the way. What to say?
Yeah, that's why I am telling my point is that beforehand we should have some
Beforehand
sort of a
is-
mechanism in place before this
Yes.
kind of God forbid this kind of pandemic happens again.
True. Yes. True.
Government should think over it, na?
True. 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 I
Thank
think
you.
government is thinking. Yes.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I guess we have taken most of the questions posted in the Q&A and chat box. And we are also running short of time, and I'm sure, I'm aware that you have another presentation at 5:30, and we don't want to
Yes.
take most
Thank
of
you. True. True. Yeah. So, but it has spent a long time, basically 3 to 4:45. It has come, isn't it?
Yes. Sir, I would like to request Deshpande sir and Uday Bhaskar sir to extend your views on the program.
And let Deshpande ji speak. The opinion of both of us will be the same. So I don't want to take 3 more minutes. So let him speak.
Deshpande ji, you are on mute, sir.
Unmuted. Okay. Excellent presentation summarizing the current situation, what is happening in COVID-19 situation, and what's the response of government as well as the state government. I'm also happy that this is a good beginning. So what is began good will continue to be good, and I'm sure that the many more resource persons will enrich the regulators across the country on various subjects. The state regulators are working around the clock, and somebody asked what is the action taken or reaction to the hoarding, profiteering, etc. The paper news clearly show that immediate actions are taken on profiteering, raids have been carried out, so on and so forth. But once again, congratulations, Dr. Rubina, and thank you on behalf of All India Drug Control Officers Confederation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I must recognize, the immediate response of Dr. Rubina ma'am. Right after the inaugural program, she has, she has messaged me that she is very keen to have more and more interactions with all the officers, and she has warranted her continuous support for all the training program activities. We are so grateful and so privileged to have you, ma'am, on this first session of a webinar. And I'm sure it is also a proud moment and privileged moment for you to be in the history of Advanced Training Academy to share your views and thoughts with all of us, and enabling your extreme knowledge to educate all our officers. Thank you so much, ma'am, and we look forward to hear more and more sessions from you on wide variety of topics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm extremely grateful to all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, and thank you to Lakshmi, Chandrasekhar, and Anil.
Thank you.
My sincere thanks to all the team who are working hard for the program, especially Chandrasekhar and Anil and Ms. Hemalata, Sri Bindu, and Anvesh. From past 2 days, entire team is working very hard in making this program a great success, and this teamwork will go long and make this training program activities a long-lasting resources for the entire officers. Thank you so much, and we'll keep posting the upcoming programs in near future in the ADCOG group. Thanks again, and have a safe days ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Happy Durgashtami.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yunus sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Lakshmi, for Lakshmi for
Chandrasekhar,
making this
Anil.
excellent, matlab,
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Bye,
introduction.
Lakshmi. Bye.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Dada.
Bye.
Bye, Raja Bhanuji, Jantuda, sab bye. All bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Jantu. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Raghunath garu, namaskaram.
Thank you, Chandrasekhar.
Chandrasekhar.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you,
good.
sir.
So close the program.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Sir, shall I disconnect the meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It disconnect.
Okay.
It's over.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Deshpande sir, thank you so much for sparing your time. And we are planning to have another session with you in the coming weeks, sir. If you could let us know your convenient dates.
And I will be available whenever you say, as a participant for another 1 month or so.
We'll discuss, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Close the program.
Yes, sir.